We have a couple more people joining, and it's almost 5 o'clock. Hello to everyone that's joining. It feels really weird to not have any responses come back when I talk. And now it's 5 o'clock here. I'm on the East Coast time, but I know on Pacific time it is 2 o'clock. And I will go ahead and get started and tell you all how to onboard your new employee in 5 minutes or less. With our software, HR becomes a dream, not a chore. You'll learn how easy it is to manage employees and tasks. So this is me. I'm your host today, and I am the marketing coordinator here at HR for Health. I am responsible for most of our social media. So whenever you see something come up on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, if Twitter's still a thing, I'm not using it as much anymore. But if you see any of those, that's usually me behind the screen. And I also will occasionally post a blog every now and then, but I also have a really deep love and admiration for all things HR. So HR for Health has combined the two things that I love most, which is marketing and human resources. And I love human resources because really it keeps people acting right. I don't have a better way to say it, but it keeps people acting the way that they should be, gives a set of rules, and it keeps people compliant, and you have a safer workspace because of human resources. And a lot of that is also attributed to using a cloud-based software like HR for Health, which we're going to talk about today. And here's a full rundown of what I'm going to cover. So we will go through onboarding, orientation, then our software demonstration, and some recommendations that we have. There's a compliance checklist that you're going to be able to download for free at the end. And then once we get to the conclusion, you'll see the best ways that you can contact us. So first, if you're new and you haven't seen our company before, welcome. And we are HR for Health. Our mission is to simplify HR processes and make them less stressful for businesses of all sizes. We bring to the table a combination of HR expertise and technologically advanced solutions. So our team is a diverse mix of experienced HR professionals and tech enthusiasts who are dedicated to delivering excellence in every product and service. We believe that efficient, automated HR operations should not be a luxury, but a necessity for all healthcare practices. We promise to alleviate your HR worries and ensure that your HR tasks feel like a breeze. We are committed to enhancing and uplifting your HR experience with our solutions. Trust us to be your partner in perfecting your HR process. And the best part of HR for Health, as it says even in our own brand name, is Health for Healthcare. We specialize in HR services for healthcare and dental providers across the country, and we want to make this software as easy, simple, and compliant as possible, so that way, on top of all of the labor-intensive things that you're doing as a healthcare provider, HR does not have to be one of those things that it's just so frustrating and it's the last thing that you want to do that it ends up getting pushed to the side. So HR for Health is designed with you, the healthcare practitioner, practice owner, in mind. So quickly before I go into the entire spiel of why you're here today and show you how to onboard, I want to talk about why onboarding is so important and why we pride ourselves in this piece of our software. So first, there is a difference between orientation and onboarding. So if you've ever thought of the two words, and sometimes maybe they're used interchangeably, but orientation is kind of like your one-off party that you're having with your employees. It paints the big picture of who you are, what we value, how the coffee maker works. In essence, it's a gentle introduction to your company's general vibe. So you show up for orientation maybe at work or back in the college days, whenever you had orientation, that was like your view into what the campus life would be like and what it would look like to be enmeshed and starting the new academic culture that you would be experiencing. But onboarding is all of that combined. So it includes orientation, but onboarding is that entire process of what it takes to get an employee fully enmeshed within your company. So the two sound similar, but they are different, and we want to make onboarding easier because it is that important. Onboarding is the entire package. It's what makes your employees start off on the right foot, and that's why we believe that the first step of all of this should be the easiest. So the importance of onboarding, it does matter, and the first impressions really do count. So with first impressions, just as your new hire's first day gives you a glimpse into their work ethic, their curiosity, their willingness to learn, so does your orientation paint a picture of your practice's culture, the real how we do things around here from the get-go. It's an opportunity to reassure them, yes, you've made the right career move by being with us. So to reiterate, that is that little piece of orientation being just a little piece of the onboarding puzzle. So then the classroom phase is orientation is like the first day of school, but better. It's where new employees learn about their role, the company, and their colleagues, not to mention where they can get the best lunches around the area. With the right onboarding, you're setting them up for success, helping them go from the new kid on the block to part of the entire team in no time. And then the most important piece is the 6-month milestone. And did you know most employees decide if they'll stick around or jump ship in their first 6 months? That's a little scary, right? But that also means a well-designed, engaging onboarding program could be the key to get your relationships off to a flying start. Now, before you freak out, think about yourself and how the 6-month milestone could apply to you. So 6 months gives you that time to figure out if that's the right fit for you. Imagine if, let's say if you're in the world of dating again and you meet someone and the first date goes terrible and you just want to give that person a chance. And so maybe you give it some extra time and you're like, we're going to see if this is going to work out and if I can overlook this person's flaws. But usually there comes a point where you're like, okay, either the pros outweigh the cons or vice versa. And that's the same feeling that new employees get. They go into a job and those first little glimpses of the workplace culture and everything involved with it starts to give them this feeling of, is this a place where I want to invest my time? Is this where I want to make myself a career and where I want to call home? So there's some data to back this up, because if you're a healthcare provider, I assumed that you would want me to put some numbers behind what we're talking about and not just spit out a bunch of facts. So 69% of employees are more likely to stay with a company for 3 years if they experience great onboarding. 58% of new employees who went through a structured, keyword structured, onboarding program were 58% more likely to be with the organization after 3 years. And then 50% of organizations with a standard onboarding process experience 50% greater new hire productivity. And to tie this all together, why this ultimately matters the most is because hiring new employees, or if you have to fire, bring someone new on, or every time you're bringing on a new employee, that costs a ton of money. So if there's ways that you can mitigate those risks of an employee leaving, you can find ways to prevent them from leaving your healthcare practice. It saves you money in the long run by having to go through all of that training and onboarding and orientation all over again. So the power of orientation. The supervisors. So I thought about the two types of people that might be on this call today, and there could be supervisors, or maybe you are a fellow employee at your practice. So think of yourself like the headline act in the orientation concert, management guru. Roger, I'm not going to be able to pronounce his last name right, but he is the brains behind A Manager's Guide to Improving Workplace Performance. He had an interesting observation. When employees are chosen well, 85% of their success rides on the environment shaped by their boss. That sounds about right, doesn't it? How many of you have had a bad boss and that's what drove you to wanting to leave your job? We've all been there. So that statistic is not surprising, but it helps put it into perspective of why this is so important that we take this role seriously. So then the peers, people that are their colleagues or those that are just in line with their position, they are the crew behind the scenes. So they have 3 things that make them even better sometimes than the supervisors, and that is they're accessible. So they're usually more available than someone that is a practice owner or someone that supervises an entire team. They have a lot of empathy. So they remember what it was like to be the new kid in school. They remember what it was like to start at the healthcare practice at one point, maybe a little bit, it's more fresh for them. So they're going to be the ones that have a lot of empathy and they care about these new hires. They also have some expertise. They're pros in their field. They're armed with both organizational knowledge and technical skills that new hires need. Some savvy practices assign a mentor or a buddy to their newbies, acting as their confidant until they're fully settled in. This synergy between supervisors and peers aims to reduce stress, which increases productivity and ensures compliance, saving you from another HR headache. So that sounds pretty great, right? That sounds like a relief. And our mission is to empower you to never worry about HR again. Now, I know this is what everyone was waiting for, the software demonstration. And it's my favorite part too, because we have a gorgeous software. So it kind of helps, right? We all want things to look really good while we're doing it. So it's better than having a really ugly, clunky software in the background. You get something nice to look at every time, and I'm going to show you how to do it in 5 minutes or less. So it is 5:11 my time right now, so 2:11 on Pacific time, and let's do this. So the first thing that you're going to do is you will see this screen when you log into the system, and you will have this little sidebar on the left, and it's going to have these different options, and you're going to click on team, and that's going to show your whole team. And when you want to add a new employee, all you do is you're going to click on add employees right here in the top right corner. And then, would you look at that? One field you have to fill out. You're going to put their email address of the person that you want to add to the system, and you can add more than one employee at a time. All you would need to do is click this little plus icon right here. And then I used a fake one for this today. I put in my email address, and I decided today I was going to be an HR coordinator that's onboarded. I'm going to start on this date at this time. So if I'm an independent contractor or if I'm an employee, my location, full-time, and in a great world, I hope I'm paid more than $50,000 per year. But I didn't want to look crazy on this end. So I put non-exempt, California paid sick leave, and then what benefits are we offering? You can also put some additional notes in here. So something that you want to remember when you have to onboard them, if there's specific document that you want to make sure you attach, or there was something just worth noting. Keep it here. Always put things in a digital format because it'll save you in the long run. So this is all you would need to fill out. You'll go here, you would click next, and then you would send the invites. So this is a brief summary of what it would look like. This is if you were adding one employee, but if you had multiple, then they would all come down here. After that, this is what my personal email inbox looked like once I was fully added to the system. And this is what your employees will get. It's just that easy. So they will get an email to bring them in. They will create an account. Once they create their own account, it is up to them and maybe some of your pestering to make sure that they get all of their onboarding documents finalized. But for the sake of the supervisor, the practice owner, this is all that you would need to do to fully onboard your employee in a legally and compliant way. And now it is 5:14, so that only took me 3 minutes. Not bad, right? It is just that easy. So there are 3 key recommendations that we have when going through this onboarding process. One is we really want to encourage you to make a new hire's first day memorable and reassuring. So whether you're running a bustling healthcare practice or a quiet dental clinic, first impressions matter. They set the tone for the entire employment experience. So how can you make the first day of your new hires memorable and reassuring? Don't sweat it. Here are a few straightforward, stress-free recommendations. Make sure you prepare ahead of time. So before their first day, take the time to organize their workspace, provide all necessary equipment, and arrange the necessary system accesses. When your new hire arrives, they'll feel welcomed and ready to dive in. Remember, organization doesn't stop at the physical stuff. Our software can help digitize and manage your HR process to ensure truly worry-free onboarding. The second thing would be to connect them with their team. A warm welcome can go a long way in making new hires feel comfortable. Introduce them to the team, assign a buddy or a mentor, and maybe even arrange a casual team lunch. This approach helps cultivate a friendly, inclusive atmosphere, making them feel part of the community straight away. And then clarify expectations. Finally, make sure your new hires understand their role and what's expected of them. Set some time aside to walk them through their major tasks, the company culture, and any initial goals or targets. The clarity can help ease any first day anxieties and set your new hire up for success. So implementing these simple steps can make a world of a difference to your new team members' first day experience. Sit back and let effective onboarding do wonders for your HR management. You've definitely got this. And if this is kind of a few things that are hard to remember, honestly, what this kind of reminds me of, I personally don't have kids, but I was a nanny for several years. And a lot of these steps remind me of having to take them to their first day of school. So you do the same thing with your kids, or even if you're babysitting a kid, you prepare them for their first day of school. You want to make sure that they have all of their homework assignments, that they have all of their supplies, that they have their lunch for the day, and that they know exactly what's going to happen. And then you want to connect them with their peers, or maybe you want to connect with different parents, or you want to have them meet some new friends, because not all of us are social butterflies. And if I were to have a kid, they would probably be really awkward. So I'd have to make sure that they were set up for success when meeting other kids around the school. And then I would want to clarify those expectations, because if I don't say it to them, if I don't make it very clear, then that's not fair for me to get mad at any kid if they behave in a way that I don't like. So I would clarify by saying, hey, you probably shouldn't bite anyone today. You shouldn't spit anywhere. I probably would tell them to not fight with anyone on the playground. So all of those rules are the same exact ones that apply when you're starting someone's first day, because I think of the workplace like a giant daycare for adults. And in the same way that daycares need rules, you also need rules in the workplace, except if you break a rule in the HR space, that's a legal problem, so it is a bigger deal. But that's the best way that I remember how to make HR more understandable and why HR is so important and why it doesn't have to be scary, or it doesn't have to feel like a giant rule book or like you're going and being sent to the principal's office all the time. It really does make the workplace a lot safer and a lot more enjoyable when you follow some simple steps and you make sure to follow the laws and you make sure that you're compliant. So speaking of compliance checklist, we also have something for you that's completely free. And the QR code is up on the screen. I'm also going to send every person on this call and those who couldn't make it today, I'm going to send an email with this slide deck download in it. So that way you miss this or you're not at a space where you can scan it, totally fine. So we have a federal new hire documents checklist so that you can feel confident when you're welcoming new members to your team in a way that respects federal requirements and keeps your practice legally protected. So you do have to have some of these documents, and I say some because there's different laws for different states, which is really annoying, but you still have to do it. So there's some federal documents that you have to make sure your employees fill out and that you submit. It's extremely important that these get done, and they are required. Because if you don't fill them out, you get in trouble, but like adult trouble. So make sure that you scan this QR code and you can download the checklist for free. But I will say why it's so important to not have a checklist just from printed out documents where you're signing them. with like a usual pen and paper. Do people do that anymore? No, I'm just kidding. But it really is more efficient to have a software like HR for Health because it shows when that employee received those documents. So you're backed in that way. Your employee can't say, well, I never got those. They did. And you have a cloud-based system to prove that you sent them. Then they can sign them electronically. So that way it's done, it's easy. You're saving some trees if you're environmentally conscious. And then on top of that, that employee has access to these documents at all times. So there's never a day where that employee could say, you know, I forgot everything that I learned in the sexual harassment fact sheet, and so therefore I believe I don't have to follow those rules anymore. Not with the HR for Health software, because it's in their portal all the time. And if there's any updates to these documents, you can send them automatically. You can get them signed right away to make sure that your practice is always legally protected. It's a thing. Isn't that crazy that we have to fill out all these forms? But we do, and you can get in trouble if you don't. So some concluding thoughts. This went by a lot faster than I meant to, but I'll slow down a little bit. So again, the items in the checklist are either mandatory or highly recommended for all employers. HR compliance is complex. Forms are constantly changing, and each practice is unique. To ensure that you are fully compliant and learn more about your state-specific requirements, you can contact us at this email, or you can call us. I'm personally not a fan of calling people, so you can send us an email at any time that works best for you. And feel free to ask any questions. I don't want to use that as like a scary tactic of why these forms change all the time. But just as we're learning and growing about human behavior, what happens in offices, sometimes the HR laws just change. So kind of like the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act that was implemented, I think it's been a little over a month now. Some of those rules on there were like kind of no brainer of like, obviously you should have your pregnant workers given all of these benefits and all of these things that they should be able to do. And it sounds really explanatory, self-explanatory, but some of it isn't. So a lot of these laws and employment changes happen because we're always adapting as a society and as a world to try to make HR a better place, but also to try to make workplaces much more compliant and much more safe, and we try to keep the employees in mind. So don't freak out when it says that forms change all the time. It's true. It's not because the government's out to get you. It's just because we're trying to keep up with the world around us. So before I just leave this part on the screen, I want to show you one more time what this software looked like. Okay, so again, this is what it would look like on your end if you have the HR for Health software. So you will have this really cool little navigation bar on the side, and these are the main topics that you would see, but you would go to team, and this is a list of all of your team members, and you can click on them and edit their settings. But if you want to onboard someone in under 5 minutes or less, then you would come to this screen and you would click on add employee over in this little corner here. I love how like pretty this looks too. It's not super overwhelming. So then all you would have to do is add their email right here. And if you wanted to add more than one employee, you would just click the little plus button, and that's it. So then you would fill out their employee details. You put their job description or their title, and then that would filter out what job description they're getting with that title. You would put their start date and time, their employment category, office location, the employment status, compensation, so how much they're paid every year, and you can change whether this is hourly, all of those things. Exempt status, California paid sick leave, and benefits. And you'll notice that there's little question marks here that you can hover over and it'll explain to you what exactly you're filling out. And then there's also some little red stars here to tell you what you have to fill out. And we don't just tell you have to fill this out because we want to make your lives worse. It's because those things are required and you have to be able to fill them out. And we have to have those things in some sort of cloud-based system to ensure that that was documented. So then before you send out an invite, our software is so awesome because she shows you exactly what's going to be sent to them. So it lays out all of the information you filled out, which is great because maybe looking at it in the first view was overwhelming and you're just like, I want to see exactly what this would be like in a summary. So that's what it does here, and it'll show you what email address you're sending it to, and you could send it to them. And then in their email, so this was the test that I did in my own personal email account. So this is what it looked like for me when I onboarded myself. This is the email that you get, and that employee would create an account within the HR for Health software, and then that is when they would complete the onboarding process. So as the healthcare practice owner or manager or supervisor, if you're above someone, this is how you would onboard them, and that's why this takes 5 minutes or less, because we auto-populate the forms that they need to be filling out. We take all of that stress off your plate, so you're not sitting there worrying, did I give them the right forms? Do I need to do this or this? It's already going to be set up for you. You just have to give us the basic information, and then we'll take it from there. So I will go back here just in case anyone wants to download this new hire checklist with all the federal fund forms that you need to have for your employee. And again, I will send out this presentation once we're done today. And then here is our website and the best phone number for us and another email address for you to contact us at. And we are actually very responsive. So you can email us at any time and we will get back to you if you prefer emailing over calls, because I know that I do. So before we fully wrap up today, I want to leave a second for questions, so you can type them in the chat or ask them at all. We have Ryan, our product specialist, on here too, so she can answer your questions if I don't have all the answers. So we'll stay here for a few more minutes, and then I will give you back your day, because it's almost Friday in 2 days. Okay. I didn't see anything. Is there anything coming in your chat?
Yep, nothing yet.
Okay, that's fine. Oh my gosh. I should have brought some music to play in the background.
No worries. Any questions? Any software questions?
I know everyone is just so excited to talk about HR. That's fine. We'll be here for another minute. And if you're too shy, then that's also okay. You can email us any questions that you might have too. It looks like David has a question, but
Are you able to see it on your end? I don't see it on my end.
I see that his hand is raised. Oh, wait, there we go. Oh, here we go. I don't know how I missed the questions. Okay, there was a little question mark thing. One of them is this HR software through ADP? No, it is not through ADP. We are our own company.
Yep.
You're welcome.
But
And
there's just something to note too, because we do offer our own payroll product. If you are using an outside source for payroll specifically, you can still use our software. You can still run a payroll report after using our timekeeping, which I would highly recommend, just because our timekeeping is compliant based on your state. It makes sure that you're not, adding anything in there incorrectly, it's super great. But you can run a payroll report at the end, gather all that data, and then send it off to your payroll company. That's, of course, if you don't want to use our payroll product, which I highly recommend.
Let's see. Will there be a change? Will there be a change to implement 2 signatures soon? From Stephanie.
It's definitely something that we have on the top of mind from the product side. We do know that that is a hurdle, so we're looking into it for sure. At the moment, there's only 2 documents that require a signature from the employer, which is the I-9 form and an arbitration of disputes form. So those are the only 2 documents that you actually have to print out, physically sign, and then scan them back into the system. Other than that, the rest of them, so for example, if you're in California, I think there's about 26 or 27 documents. Of those 26 or 27, the employee electronically signs everything, and then as the employer, you just have to print out those 2 forms.
Awesome. We have another, let's see. Can we add our own documents that we want them to fill out too?
Great question. Yes, you can. So any of your own documents that you need for onboarding, you can add to the new hire checklist as a document. The only caveat to that is it does need to be a document that is editable. So you want to make sure that you have put it into like a PDF editor beforehand, make sure that you have fields that they can actually fill in. And then once you upload it into our system and it sends out to them, they'll be able to click to fill in those fields.
Sweet. The next one is, okay, this is the one from David. I'm sorry that we missed this until now. And he asked, is there a way to create an employee file without an email address? We have a temporary staffing agency that puts the W-2 and taxes on us.
So say that one more time.
Is there a way to create an employee file without an email address? We have a temporary staffing agency that puts the W-2 and taxes on us.
So there's probably 2 different ways that you can go about doing that. You can add their documents separately into our system. So there is what I call document vault. It's like a management document section where only authorized users have access. So if you do have documents for those employees that you want to keep, but they don't actually need to be clocking into your time clock, you don't need to send them your new hire documents, they don't need to basically do anything, you don't send in performance reviews, you can go ahead and add those documents into the system just for your own safekeeping, and they'll be in the cloud-based system. You don't have to go look through files to find them. If they are going to be clocking in through your system, or you need them to clock in through your system so you can track those hours, you can still do that. We do have the option to add temporary employees into the system, which technically, so you could do it either way. But the good news is whenever you decide to go that route, if you're not sure what to do, you can always call in our support team and they will assist you in how to set that
up. There's another one, also from David. He said, is HR for Health considering ways to make clocking in easier for employees, such as a mobile app that is geo-specific to the business?
Great question. Yes, we are definitely looking into ways to make clocking in simpler. So stay tuned. I'm not going to tell you what those ways are, but we hear your feedback and we definitely take it into consideration.
Awesome. And then the last one is, how much is the software? Is it dependent on the number of employees?
Great question. That would be a good question for our sales team. So I don't have the answer on that, but I think it's a great deal.
Let's see, Janessa, yeah, you're more than welcome to email us and we'll get you in contact with our sales team and they can give you a more specific answer. I think so far that looks like it's it. I think those are all the questions. Thank you everyone for all the questions and being super engaged. That made this a lot more fun and it doesn't feel like I'm talking to nothing. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I really enjoyed having this webinar with everyone. And I look forward to any feedback that you might have. And again, I will send this presentation over, and this will be uploaded on demand as well. So if there's anything you missed or you felt like you had to keep this in the background, it will be uploaded later so you can listen to it if you just had that much fun learning about onboarding. Thank you everyone for being here, and I hope to see you soon, and I hope to see you as a customer with HR for Health. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Bye, guys.